The finance world is so large that sometimes we think the government is often the most significant player. But what if I told you it wasn't so? And there is a company that's so big it controls assets that's worth half the United States GDP. Now the interesting part is that this company, known as BlackRock, tries so hard to stay off the radar and go unnoticed while it keeps controlling everything. In the past 30 years, BlackRock has become a company managing over 6.3 trillion in assets. But that's just the start. BlackRock has also created a groundbreaking software called Aladdin that helps its several clients perform risk analysis by receiving sensitive data from insurance companies, banks, and other significant institutions. The software gives BlackRock management financial insights that are reportedly worth around $20 trillion. With shares and voting rights in several of the biggest European companies across sectors like transportation, food, energy, oil, gas, and finance. There is more to BlackRock than you don't know about yet. We uncovered the BlackRock company in our previous video, and in this one, we'll show you how it secretly controls the world. Before eventually boasting a portfolio of businesses worth several trillion of dollars, BlackRock had a rather hidden, or perhaps quiet beginning that put the world of finance in shock when it finally became a global financial giant. For over a decade, one name was the talk of Wall Street. To this day, it still remains a mystery to most of the white-collar people there. Even Hike Butcher, a well-renowned dedicated investigative journalist, admitted that the name Larry Fink only started appearing on her radar around 2015 after years of being unknown. The German correspondent covering Wall Street for over a decade at the time said, "Bankers started talking about it. They were analyzing central bank portfolios, and the name Larry Fink kept popping up." As a result, Butcher decided to find out everything she possibly could about Larry Fink and his financial colossus company, BlackRock, which was described by the company's website as one of the world's preeminent asset management firms. In one of Heike Butcher's 280-page exposé, the first ever of its kind at the time, the German journalist said, "Prior to the financial crisis, I was not even familiar with the name, but in the years after the Lehman Brothers collapse in 2008, BlackRock appeared everywhere. Everywhere." The author spoke about the time she had lunch with BlackRock insider, who at the time asked her, rather jokingly, to talk quietly as someone from BlackRock might be hiding somewhere in the kitchen, listening to them. Accordingly, Heike Butcher titled the first chapter of her book, "The Most Powerful Company That No One Heard About." At the time, BlackRock was managing around $4.7 trillion, which is equivalent to 4.2 trillion pounds worth of assets. All in all, it was juggling around 14 trillion, which was equivalent to 5% of all the financial assets in the world. But that was just the surface. BlackRock control went deeper than that, with Butcher further stating that BlackRock advises central banks, financial ministries, big investors like state funds, pension funds, insurance companies and foundations. Tapping into these bonds and stocks, they invest in firms around the world. There is pretty much nothing in the financial market that BlackRock is not somehow involved in. The statement was made in 2015, 9 years ago, and it's even truer now. At the time, BlackRock had successfully built a colossal web that spread across the globe, with Larry Fink and his entire team pulling strings around the world from their Midtown Manhattan headquarters. Apart from holding majority stakes in some of the biggest banks in the United States, BlackRock also controlled a significant amount of shares of defense contractors and oil and gas companies. The company was also the biggest stockholder in the German DAX Blue Chip Market Index. According to Butcher, it wasn't dangerous for BlackRock to have this much controlling power around the world. However, she added that a downside might be the fact that the company now potentially possessed the power to tip the scales of the world as they see fit. She said, "These days, owning 4, 5 or 6% of a company's shares means you're a bigwig. You can call anytime and the boss will talk to you. And it becomes totally okay to expect that." In the German market, BlackRock also largely involved in the production of cars. And in South America and Africa, it was involved in the mining of iron ore and gold, respectively. BlackRock's involvement in so many industries and in different capacities around the world meant it was the most feared company. As a result, Butcher warned about an impending conflict of interest. For instance, if the company intends to issue bonds, BlackRock often appears as not just a potential buyer, but an already existing shareholder, who would want to get in trouble with someone who is not only your biggest stockholder, but also potentially your biggest creditor, wrote Butcher. Despite BlackRock's control of everything around the world today, it wasn't always the case. In fact, the company went from being an outcast to the colossal investment emperor. BlackRock began in the late 1980s as a subsidiary of a multinational private equity firm called Blackstone Group. At the start, Larry Fink was made its CEO and director, despite previously running his reputation on Wall Street for costing his old employer, First Boston, over $100 million after he made a wrong prediction about interest rates. In one of Butcher's books, she described Fink as the most powerful man of modern financial world, appears to double as his own accountant. According to Butcher, Larry Fink achieved a unique accomplishment. She said, he created his own Wall Street empire in less than 3 decades. To do that, you need to have a pretty strong ego and ton of ambition. Well, she wasn't wrong. In the early stages of his career, Larry Fink was a man full of ambition. It is no surprise that BlackRock capitalized greatly on the collapse of Lehman Brothers. Fink and his team of managers were already known as experts when it came to analyzing mortgage-backed security portfolios. Their expertise came in handy when bankers and investors were trying to save and do damage control on the Lehman Brothers business. In little time, Fink alongside his team, working from a backroom office, became known as the Ghostbusters of Wall Street. And in no time, they started getting regular calls from the Federal Reserve. Back then, the Secretary of the United States Treasury, Timothy Geithner, was on the first-name basis with BlackRock boss, Larry Fink. Heike Butcher also noted that it wasn't the fault of the US regulators that allowed Fink a stealth iron grip on the financial world. She said, if you only look at the individual businesses BlackRock is involved in, you don't necessarily realize there's a problem. But add them all up, all the lines of business and advisory roles, and you end up looking at a massively complex structures, where you have to wonder, wow, what kind of monster have they created here? While Heike Butcher finding shone a light on the vast web interest and influence of BlackRock, the reporter eventually stated that her goal wasn't to point fingers, but to inform the public on exactly what they're up against. Butcher explained that BlackRock was a perfect example of how the entire financial industry works. People would like to think that this sector is like most other industries, where you can get a clear picture of who's who and what's what. Butcher explained, but if there's one thing she learned from her research, is that the financial system is always changing. It is never a permanent state, and sometimes it's not quite clear who is doing what. And that, she stated, is exactly what has subverted people's confidence in the system, leaving them so angry. Fast forward to today, the company founded in 1988 by Larry Fink is now the world's largest asset manager, with over $10 trillion in its portfolio. According to reports from the Market Watch, there's about $40 trillion currently in circulation worldwide. Going by these statistics, BlackRock controls around a quarter of the world's entire money. Forget Amazon, Meta, and Tesla and their eccentric, vibrant CEOs. BlackRock and its CEO, who without a doubt is reclusive, are the largest and most significant players in the global financial industry. One of the most crucial cornerstones of attaining success in the ever-dynamic business world is effective learning management. However, it is often an element that most people neglect and goes unnoticed. BlackRock, like most businesses of its kind, might not be a household name, but its achievements came from a strong commitment to constant adaptation and learning. In the rapidly changing market today, having the right knowledge is power, and that's where several educational platforms enter into the conversation. Providing different valuable resources, these services or educational platforms help close the academic and real-world applicational gap, giving individuals the skills and insights required to become successful in a business landscape that's highly competitive. In essence, BlackRock's adoption of the ever-evolving learning management has allowed it over the years to build a solid foundation consisting of innovation, resilience, and growth. Today, Vanguard and BlackRock are the top 2 big 3 passive fund asset management companies. The third, known as State Street, is owned by BlackRock. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The Vanguard Group is the largest shareholder in BlackRock, with 8.65% ownership, accounting to 12,868,201 shares. Vanguard itself has a totally different and unique structure that makes it difficult to discern its ownership. Most of the oldest and richest families in the world can be traced to Vanguard funds. BlackRock's control of the world's largest companies has recently grown larger. According to Jeanette Copperman of Common Reader, Vanguard and BlackRock are the top 2 owners of Time Warner, Comcast, Disney, and News Corp, 4 of the 6 media companies that control more of 90% of what the US media landscape. Both companies, which can sometimes be classified as the same, effectively combine to control the mainstream media in the United States. Together, they own 18% of Fox, 16% of CBS, and 13% of Comcast, which owns NBC, CNBC, and MSNBC, and the Sky Media Group. They also own 12% of CNN and Disney respectively, with Disney owning a host of other subsidiaries. Despite its gigantic shares in several of the major media giants, BlackRock also extended its media influence and control to several other smaller media companies. For instance, BlackRock is the largest shareholder in Sinclair Broadcast Group, a corporation that owns over 200 television stations in the United States. Additionally, BlackRock's stake in Graham Media Group gives it access to over 40 television stations and several notable magazines that the company owns. While some of the media giants might present themselves to the people as arch rivals, they're actually owned and controlled by the same company. So you might have wondered, to what extent do they control the news? Janet Copperman further stated, "We are living in the realm of oligarchy, and it is naive to think that media can exist unaffected. Until now, I barely knew BlackRock existed, let alone that with Vanguard. They have enough of an interest in most big media corporations to be considered insiders under US law." Well, BlackRock might have little or no say to the editorial authority of the media companies where it has large stakes. However, the point remains that it's indeed capable of altering global narratives and influencing geopolitical on a grand scale. Away from BlackRock's hold on the media landscape, it also has a secret weapon under its belt called Aladdin, an advanced trading algorithm that has been changing global markets for several years. This elaborate technology program, which is believed to operate over 21.6 trillion in assets, was created by Larry Fink and his team in 1988. The name Aladdin is an acronym that transcribes the asset, liability, debt, and derivative investment network. In its operational form, it is capable of executing an average of 250,000 trades daily. The Aladdin software works by executing different trades in all asset classes, spanning across every industry. It also directs the actions of almost all major banks in the United States and Federal Reserve, controlling more than half of the exchange-traded funds, 10% of the stock market, and 17% of the bond market. Aladdin collects several data points in every company, market, and asset, and then utilizes its machine learning capabilities to calculate the right trade to execute in less time than it takes the human brain to transmit an electrical signal via the nervous system to the fingers. To put it simply, Aladdin is capable of executing accurate trade within nanoseconds. Aladdin Networks contains around 5,000 supercomputers that all act as a central nervous system for the most sophisticated asset managers and investors in the world. To understand exactly how important the Aladdin software has become, most major banks and funds rely on it and its powerful artificial intelligence mechanism to beat the market. However, that raises a serious question on the nature of the fragile financial system, because if Aladdin Network ever suffered a hacking attack, it could have an instant and extremely catastrophic impact on the world's economy. Such is the power of BlackRock. While most artificial intelligence programs have become more sophisticated in recent years, even with the possibility of becoming a little sentient, Aladdin has become shaping world economies in a quiet manner that has successfully made BlackRock the world's largest asset manager and given it incapacity to rescue entire governments. The era of artificial intelligence taking over the financial world isn't coming. It's been here for a while, and it's now fully integrated into the world's financial system through Aladdin, without which the world might collapse. The more existential issue with Aladdin is the monopoly the algorithm has created. Basically, BlackRock rents its golden goose software to the highest bidders, who are usually large hedge fund companies and mega banks. This pattern made it difficult for small investors to compete, leaving them at a massive disadvantage and giving BlackRock the power to manipulate the economy as they liked. Gregor Fevet, a journalist and BFM TV show host, said, "As soon as BlackRock appears as one of your shareholders, your company stands out from the crowd and gains a huge amount of prestige. When you are Larry Fink, you can talk as equals with directors of the IMF or a head of state. Mr. Fink has already been received twice at the Elysee since the election of Emmanuel Macron." BlackRock's power over the economy soon showed towards the end of 2000, when the world was hit with a global financial crisis in 2008. BlackRock's Aladdin software was utilized by every major bank around the world, as well as the head of the United States Treasury and Federal Reserve. The United States government used Aladdin to determine the best asset to keep and sell off at Bear Stearns Coss, a global investment bank based in New York. Aladdin's success in single-handedly preventing the world from entering into total financial collapse earned it a truly high-ranking position in the minds of the world's governing bodies. As a result, it was given the freedom to choose how the $2 trillion printed after the Great Recession would be utilized. The majority of the money was eventually allocated to funding and bonds to support mortgage banks and companies, in which BlackRock was already heavily invested. In 2017, CEO Larry Fink launched a new project called Monarch. The project launched at BlackRock replaced several of the company's funds managers with a more precise and safer algorithm, sparking speculations. The BlackRock was betting on machines to eventually replace actual fund managers. Rob Goldstein, BlackRock's COO, disagreed with the speculation, saying, "This is not about a robot taking over the world, but it's about increasing the efficiency of what we do across the board." But the fact remained that BlackRock was once again strategically positioning itself to gain even more control of the stock market. According to Investopedia, the launch meant that over 70% of all United States stock market trades were executed by robots. BlackRock's Monarch, a machine learning program, was created to be included in BlackRock's investment process through signal combination. Here, the model mines millions of data in an attempt to learn the relationship between various quantitative data and stock returns. For instance, it performs analysis of web traffic through corporate websites to indicate a possibility of the company's future growth, would analyze geolocation data obtained from smartphones to predict the most popular retailers. By doing so, the researchers will then refine and recalibrate the model to ensure it's added real value and not just rediscovering market behaviors already known by fundamental fund managers. The influence held by BlackRock and its super powerful algorithm cannot be overstated. By 2021, 3 known executives from BlackRock's rank were operating a notable role in President Joe Biden's cabinet. The president hired Brian Deese, the global head of sustainable investing, to become the head of the National Economic Council. The former chief of staff to BlackRock chief executive, Adwell Adamo, was also appointed as a top official at the Treasury Department. Some of these strategic positions are why many have become to believe that BlackRock might just be the fourth arm of the United States government. In 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic sent the US and global economy into a minor recession, the United States government and the Federal Reserve, as usual, stepped into the situation to introduce new monetary policies to cushion the COVID-19 effect. However, this time around, they didn't do it alone. They brought BlackRock along. The Federal Reserve and the United Government gave BlackRock the task of stabilizing the national financial market. Simultaneously, the government utilized BlackRock's Aladdin software to access all financial data it needed. Like the US government, the European Union and Bank of Canada also hired BlackRock for a similar purpose. The details of the deal technically made all parties clients of BlackRock, but it wasn't the eye-raiser. The deal gave BlackRock access to several top-level financial data secrets that it could utilize for its benefit, sparking critics to call BlackRock the fourth arm of the US government. It also made people wonder about the level of control and leverage BlackRock had over the government, and by extension, everything. In response to these claims, BlackRock later claimed that it wouldn't share the data with itself. In the United States, competition and capitalism are the hallmarks of its economy. The mere existence of alternative businesses keeping each other on their toes and forcing themselves to provide better products and services makes the economy stronger and makes life better for the common man. However, a serious question that begs the question is it really a competitive when the supposed competitors and companies are owned by the same people? The question is solely targeted towards BlackRock and the fact it controls nearly everything. For example, BlackRock and one of its shareholders, the Vanguard Group, own nearly 1/3 of the entire shares in Pepsi and its arch rival, Coca-Cola. They're also top investors in Airbnb and Bookings.com, Skyscanner and Expedia, Apple, Microsoft, companies that ought to be in a healthy competition with customers' welfare at the forefront. And it doesn't stop there. BlackRock and Vanguard also shares in oil companies, competing airlines, steel plants, refineries, e-commerce websites, mining companies, tobacco companies, credit card companies, insurance companies, weapon manufacturers, automobile giants, renewable energy companies, and several others. Basically, BlackRock owns everything, and it doesn't look like they're slowing down anytime soon. If you enjoyed watching the video, do leave a like and subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories and hidden secrets.